right or wrong. Everything is already written. So many times people ask, if it is already there, and what Allah Azza wa Jal has written, that is meant to happen, that cannot miss, then why there is punishment? Let's say, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for somebody that he is going to miss a prayer, and he missed a prayer, so why there is accountability? If Allah Azza wa Jalla has written for somebody to commit a sin, and he committed that sin, well, he was going to do that. There was no way he could not have done that. Allah Azza wa Jalla has already written for him, so he committed that sin. So how come Allah writes first and then again in Allah Azza wa Jalla, he questions him? The funny thing about this question is that people do not ask about reward and thawab. Like, say we prayed and Allah Azza wa Jalla, He is pleased with our prayer and Allah wants to reward for our prayer. Nobody would say, why I am being rewarded? Well, it was written for me to pray anyway. I was going to pray anyway. There was no chance that I could have missed a prayer. So why should I be rewarded? If a person has performed Hajj, for example, and because of performing Hajj, Allah wipes out his sins. Because of performing Hajj, Allah gives him this, gives him that. Nobody would say, why we get reward for something that was already written for us. But people usually ask about the negative thing. Obviously, this is a very deep and philosophical question, but we can try to simplify it so that we can relate to anybody. What is taqdeer in reality? Taqdeer in reality is the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Azza wa Jal, He knows everything. And for the ilm of Allah Azza wa Jal, there is no limitation. There is no restriction of time and space. Allah Azza wa Jal, He knows what is here, and He also knows what is somewhere else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is happening now. Allah also knows what has happened exactly the way He knows what is happening now. There is no difference. Like usually we forget, right? Our memories fade. Like what you did yesterday, you remember it to some extent. But what we have done 1 year ago, we don't remember it exactly in the same manner. And what we have done it 10, 15 years ago, obviously, we don't remember it in the same manner. Our knowledge is not same for present and also for the past. For sure, we don't have any knowledge of the future. We cannot be certain about the future, what is going to happen, because future is unseen and we do not have the knowledge of the unseen. For Allah Azza wa Jal, future is known the way present is known. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, future is as clear as the moment right now. How that is possible? Well, that is Allah. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah's qudra has no limits. Allah's ilm also has no limits. Since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything, Allah also knows about His people, about the believers, about the non-believers, about the good things we do, about the bad things we might do. Allah knows everything in advance. And what Allah knows in advance, Allah Azza wa Jal has written it down. In other words, what is written is in accordance with the knowledge of God. What Allah Azza wa Jal knows, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written down. Somebody is going to pray, it is there. Somebody is going to miss prayer, it is there. Somebody is going to commit a murder, it is there. Somebody is going to save somebody's life, that is also there. Everything is there. Now, this we have to understand it. On the other hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us aql, gave us intellect. And by utilizing this intellect, we can figure out what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, to some extent. And where we cannot figure out, then the deen comes. And deen guides, like this is halal, this is haram. Apple juice is okay, wine is not okay. This is trade and business. Well, trade and business is okay. Make profit, make lot of profit, make money, make lot of money. There is no problem as such. This is riba. Riba, a small amount of riba is prohibited. Right? This is nikah. You have relationship under the umbrella of nikah, well, permissible. Enjoy your life, no problem. Travel with your wife, no problem. Go on holiday, fine. You want to have a walk on the beach with your wife, no problem. You want to climb the mountains, no problem. Nikah is okay. But relationship without nikah is zina. Any relationship without nikah is zina. There is real zina and there is also minor zina. As mentioned in hadith, zina al-aynayni an-nazar, the zina of the eyes is to look. Zina al-lisani an-nutq, the zina of the tongue is to speak. Wal-yadani tabtushani, and the hands they hold, right, etc. So, where we cannot figure out the boundaries and the limitations of right and wrong, Allah Azza wa Jal, He shows us through the deen. Deen is al-fariq. Deen, it separates between the haqq and batil. It separates between the right and wrong. Without deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, without the shara' of Allah Azza wa Jal, nobody can figure out exactly what is right and what is wrong. People will muddle things. People will always confuse things. What is the difference between nikah and zina? Both are happy, right? Man and woman, they are happy in both cases. So why nikah is halal and permissible and encouraged, and in fact sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and sunnah of the most anbiya alayhi salam, and zina is prohibited. In fact, Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in the Quran, "La taqrabu zina innahu kana fahisha wa sa'a sabila." It's a very bad path, very bad route, evil route. How do we know? We will only know through the deen of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and that applies to all aspects of life. So Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us aql, intellect, and aql is tool. Aql is not the criteria. Our intellect is not the criteria to know the right and wrong. It is rather a tool that we utilize, and the criteria is the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in the light of the teachings of Allah Azza wa Jal, utilizing our intellect, we know something is right, something is wrong. Having said that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also has given us freedom. Allah Azza wa Jal does not force anybody to do something. In fact, Allah does not force people to believe. أَفَأَنْتَ تُكْرِهُ النَّاسَ حَتَّى يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. Are you going to force people so that they become believers? إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. You cannot guide whom you love, but rather Allah guides whom He wills. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even for Iman, Allah does not force. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He gives freedom. Inna hadaynahu sabila, imma shakiran wa imma kafura. Indeed, we have guided him towards the path. Either he can be grateful or he can be ungrateful. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whosoever wants to believe, let him believe. And whosoever wants to disbelieve, let him disbelieve. But immediately Allah says, إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ نَارًا أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ سُرَادِقُهَا. Indeed, we have prepared a huge fire for the people who do wrong, people who do injustice. Meaning, people are free to believe, they are free to disbelieve. But if they do decide and if they do choose to disbelieve, well, there is a fire waiting for them. Now, the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal knows that somebody is going to believe or somebody is going to disbelieve, this does not negate his freedom. The fact Allah Azza wa Jal knows that somebody is going to commit a crime, that does not mean that Allah forced him to commit the crime. The person who has done and who has committed a crime, he has committed that crime knowingly that is wrong, and he has utilized his free and full will to commit that crime. However, that also happened to be known to Allah Azza wa Jalla in advance. So the fact that Allah knows that in advance, that does not negate the freedom the person has and the choice a person makes. That's why taqdeer is not an excuse to do something wrong. Taqdeer cannot be justification for any sins. The nearest example we can have in our practical life, parents, they know their children very well, right? You have seen them from day one. You know how they think, how they act, how they react, what they do in a given situation, what they like, what they don't like, etc. So if you have certain toys and you give it to your child, from your past experience you might know that your child is going to take this and is going to reject this. And a parent can be so certain, they can actually make a claim that, look, I'm going to give him these two options, but I know he's going to choose A. I know he's going to reject B. Now, he has his friends who is visiting him, and he just wants to prove that I know my children very well, and I am giving him these options, and you will see now that they're going to choose this option. And actually he calls the child and he gives him the choice, and the child makes exactly the same choice the father or the mother has predicted. Does that mean that the father has forced him? No. The father has not forced him whatsoever. He gave him full options and he has utilized his own free will to choose whatever he has chosen. However, because of the expertise the father has, and because of the past experience the father has, and because of his wisdom he has, he is able to predict to some extent and with some certainty that this is going to happen, and somehow that happened. Allah Azza wa Jall's example is far high. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows for sure what is going to happen. There is no curtains for Him. We are surrounded by so many curtains, right? We are surrounded by so many walls, curtains of time, curtains of space, so many limitations we have. But for Allah Azza wa Jal, it is transparent. It's like nowadays we have walls which are actually made of glass. So it is actually full, thick wall which prevents the heat, which prevents the cold, etc., and which can actually, be bulletproof, for example. But the wall is so transparent that you can actually see what is beyond. So, the issue of taqdeer can be understood in this manner. Sometimes people ask, if Allah Azza wa Jalla, He loves good, why does Allah Azza wa Jalla allow people to disobey Him? Meaning, why people are able to commit a sin? Because it is very bad to commit a sin. They are committing a sin because of the ability Allah gave him. If they don't have that ability, they will never be able to commit that sin. Doesn't mean that Allah Azza wa Jal actually forcing them to commit the sin. This is a wrong conclusion. Allah does not force anybody to commit sin. Allah Azza wa Jal does not want anybody to say on the Day of Judgment that the punishment you are giving me for no reason. Allah Azza wa Jal does not want anybody to say that Allah Azza wa Jal is unjust. Allah is just. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is absolutely just. There is nobody just, and there can be nobody al-adl like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah Azza wa Jal at the same time is Hakim, He is wise. He is absolutely wise. Everything Allah Azza wa Jal He does is for good. Even what looks evil, it is there for a good reason. In itself, it can be evil. But in the broad scheme of things, it is there for a good reason. If you connect it with other dots, you know why it is there. You know why it is there. sometimes we can just look at ourselves and how we are made, and that can make so many things very simple. When we have any blood coming out of our body, immediately we try to wipe it and we try to clean it, right? Because it is blood, something dirty coming out of the body. Okay, it is najis, it is najis. It is dirty, it is dirty. But should it be there or should it not be there? What happens if there is no blood in the body? Well, our bodies do not function. There are some animals, they don't have flowing blood, but not human being. Some animals, some insects, right, some flies, they do not have flowing blood as such. Obviously, people who study science, they know more and they know better. But human being, no. Human being has blood. So although it is najis, but it is there for a good reason. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although He is able to stop the sin which a person is committing, He does not do so. He allows him to commit that sin. And that requires, in our terms, not in the terms of Allah Azza wa Jal, in our terms that requires a lot of patience. Like somebody is disobeying you in front of you. Somebody is challenging you in front of you. And you have all the power, all the might, but still you ignore, you let it go. That requires a lot of patience. That's why in some hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, there is the literal meaning of the hadith is that there is nobody who is more patient than Allah Azza wa Jal. There is ما أحد أصبر على أذى من الله أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. There is nobody who is more patient than Allah Azza wa Jal. How come? يدعون له الولد. They attribute a son to him. Subhana, Allah is perfect. Allah Azza wa Jal, He never, had a son, and it is not right for Him to have a wife or to have a son. So although people attribute such serious things to Allah Azza wa Jal, but still Allah allows them to say whatever they like to say. So that on the day of judgment when people come, people know themselves that I have done this is why I am facing this consequence. I have said this is why I am facing this consequence. Otherwise, if Allah wants, nobody would be able to commit any sin. All the people will be just doing all the good things. Nobody will be going to commit any sin. There are two separate things. One is the fadl of Allah Azza wa Jal. Fadl means favor of Allah Azza wa Jal. Another is the justice of Allah Azza wa Jal, adl of Allah Azza wa Jal. In the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal declared in many places, Allah does not do any injustice. Inna Allah la yadhlimun nas. Indeed, Allah does not do any injustice. Meaning, If somebody is sincere, if somebody is trying hard to find the truth, if somebody really wants to know the haqq, Allah will guide him. So this is justice. One person, two people, 10 people, 100 people, two people from the same family, 10 people from the same family. If they are all sincere and if they are looking for haqq, Allah Azza wa Jal, He guides. And that is mentioned right at the beginning of the Quran. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That book has no doubt in it. It is guidance for those who are seeking for taqwa. Muttaqeen has two meanings. People who already have taqwa and people who are looking for taqwa. Not everybody has taqwa, right? In reality. But some people have potential taqwa. Like you have customers and you have potential customers, right? People who are already studying in a university, in a college, and then you have prospectors, those who can become students in the college. So one is that Allah Azza wa Jalla, He is just. If somebody is sincere and looks for guidance from Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah will guide him. Another thing, which is another system, which is also in place, which is the favor of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah can favor anybody. And if Allah favors somebody and does not favor somebody, that is not injustice. That is Allah's right. That is Allah's right. You go outside, you have some water, right? And you see some plants. And you choose to water a plant and not the other one. Well, that is your right. The other plant cannot complain that you have not watered me. You have two children and you buy a gift for one child. Well, you must buy a gift for another child as well, because that is the requirement of justice. There is a famous hadith that Nu'man ibn Bashir radiyallahu an, it is about him or his father, that they wanted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be witness for a gift. Ya Rasulullah, I have given gift. And gift was significant, like a farm, a piece of land, right? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, have you given gift, yani similar gift? Have you given gift to other children as well? He said, no. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I do not become witness to injustice. I don't want to become witness for this injustice. You want to find a witness, go and find somebody else, not me. So justice should be there. But at the same time, people have the right to favor somebody. And we see this in our life. If you have employees, right? People who are working for you, 8 hours, 10 hours, and you give them something which you have agreed. That is the right, and that is the requirement of justice. End of the day, before they go home, you ask 2-3 people to stay behind. I just want to talk to you for a minute. I just want to see you for a minute. And then you give them a box of chocolate. This is a gift from me for your family. Or you give them extra bonus or whatever else. This is favor. So people have the right to do favor. And that is up to the person to decide whom he wants to favor. Doing a favor is not injustice. The same also applies to Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just. Allah Azza wa Jal does not do injustice. People who seek the truth, Allah will guide them. That's why Allah does not punish people until He sends messengers. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We will not punish people until we send a messenger. People who did not receive message, Allah will not punish them. Why would Allah punish them? Allah does not become happy by punishing people. However, Allah Azza wa Jal, He does favor to whom He wills. And that's why we see the choice. Sometimes in a family you will have some people, they might go through similar life situations. They might go through similar life experiences. But eventually, somebody will go this way, somebody will go that way. Somebody is up, somebody is down, somebody is right, somebody is wrong. Yeah? जी. बातिल. Unfortunately, the method of seeking knowledge has to be learned first. Meaning, there is a difference between what we can learn from experience and what we can only learn through wahi. This microphone doesn't work, right? Sometimes I might hit it this way, that way. I might move it here, there, or press this button, press that button, and eventually it might work. So when it works, then I know, okay, something was wrong here, then because I pressed this button, it is working. People learn farming, people learn so many things. Through experience, you try, you make mistakes, and then you discover that if you do it this way, it will work. Allah Azza wa Jal has allowed that. People can learn from experience. But the ilm of wahi is not trial and error. That, okay, let's pray salah this way. If it works, it works. Tomorrow I can try a different way. No. This year, let me calculate zakat according to, whatever I think is best, is in the best interest of the community. Or this year I give qurbani according to whatever is in the best interest of the Muslim ummah. Somebody said, like in a Muslim country, I can name it but there is no need, some time ago, that because we have more poverty and because we have financial crisis, so this year people should not give qurbani. Actually, that money, people can put it in the economy, and the economy will rotate, will revive. Ilm of wahi is not through experience, is not through trial and error. It is from Allah Azza wa Jal to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah Azza wa Jal said in the Quran, وَعَلَّمَكَ مَا لَمْ تَكُنْ تَعْلَمُ وَكَانَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكَ عَظِيمًا. And He has taught you what you did not know. He has taught you what you did not know. Then Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the most intelligent person, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the most perfect human being in every aspect, including intelligence. Even him, Allah Azza wa Jal taught him the deen. Salah, fasting, zakah, hajj, right, wrong, halal, haram, right, ibadat, muamalat, muasharat, everything Allah Azza wa Jal taught him. عَلَّمَكَ مَا لَمْ تَكُنْ تَعْلَمُ. If Allah Azza wa Jal taught Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that means that we need to learn from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because nobody other than the Prophet has that knowledge. Only Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has that knowledge. Other than him, nobody has. So how do we get that knowledge from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Well, through the means of people who gained that knowledge from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they learn from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Tabi'in, they learn from Sahaba. Atba'u Tabi'in, they learn from Tabi'in. And the chain continues. If people follow this chain, then they will have the pure knowledge. They will have the clean understanding. They will have clear understanding. They will have, exact understanding of the deen. Otherwise, you take out all these mediums, take out the entire chain, and then people say, well, I can read the Quran on my own. I can figure it out on my own. Well, Sahaba could have read the Quran on their own. Why did Allah send Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why Allah Azza wa Jal did not just give the Quran? Like many people, they think that da'wah is to give Quran copy to non-Muslims. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he invited people to Islam. When people accepted Islam, then he taught them the Quran. He taught them the Quran. And he taught them the Quran over a period of time. So, the method of ilm is the suhbah, is the companionship. Because that way we will get fresh ilm, that way we will get authentic ilm. Unfortunately, because of so many reasons, because of the period of colonization we have had in the Muslim world, because of so many crises the Muslim Ummah has gone through, because of so many historical factors, obviously these are not excuses, but this is just some sort of understanding we are trying to make. Unfortunately, the link between a ammi, a common man, and an alim is very weak, and in many cases it is broken. I'll give you an example. In a masjid, you will have 500 people pray Jummah, right? How many people out of those 500 people spend 10 minutes with that alim in a week? Sit with him, ask him something, or listen to him. Hardly. You will have less than 1% of the population of the Muslims seeking ilm from ulama. And that's why we have a lot of confusion. And we are very vulnerable. Anybody can say anything and we are ready to accept. Anybody, literally anybody. Even non-Muslims can pretend to be Muslims and explain Islam back to us, and we are ready to accept it. That is happening. I'll give you some funny examples, some extreme examples that make make it easier. If somebody is not well, what do? We go to doctor and take medication, right? Some people are saying in this day and age, some people in the name of religion, in the name of Islam, are saying that there is no need for medication. Why? Because Allah made them sick. Allah wants them to be sick. Well, Allah wants them to be sick and you want them to be better? You are going against the will of God? Some people are saying this, that this is actually haram. Wal-iyadhu billah. Now, you and I, we might think, no, nobody is going to accept that. When you are not well, naturally, we go and look for help. We go and look for some sort of treatment, some sort of, rescue, some sort of, help, right? That is what we think. Unfortunately, there are lots of people who are following such people. I know this real example. lots of people are following such people, and sometimes they even die. I know, for example, in Christianity there are some people who don't like treatment. Some Christians, like recently in I don't know, in Australia or in New Zealand, a child has died because the child needed some medication, and the entire family and friends, they kept praying and singing, and they thought that if they sing and if they pray, God will save the child. Well, God will save the child, but God also has created the medicine. Allah Azza wa Jal has created the human being, and Allah Azza wa Jal has also created the asbab. So the child died. Obviously the police came and caught them later on. But some Muslims are doing this. How is that possible? Why this is possible? When there is no link, or the link is very weak, or the link is broken between common Muslims and ulama, anybody can say anything and people are ready to accept. Some people are easily denying hadith and some people are easily accepting that. Some people are denying a hadith in the name of accepting authentic hadith. That we only accept authentic hadith. Meaning any hadith which is less authentic according to me is rejected. Any hadith which is tiny bit, little bit of less authentic according to me, I reject. So basically they are rejecting hadith. They are basically rejecting hadith, but obviously they don't claim that, and we also cannot accuse them of doing that. But what is happening in reality? In reality, a good portion of deen is khalas, sideline. A good portion of deen is just marginalized. Why? Because it is less authentic according to me. So the point is that we need to revive the halaqat of ilm in our masajid. There was a time when in a masjid you will have halaqah of tafsir, halaqah of hadith, halaqah of Arabic language, halaqah of nahu and sarf. There were no madrasas. Masjid was a madrasa. Masjid, you come to masjid, you will find a alim here sitting, teaching this. You will find another alim. You will find some beginners, some mid-level students, some advanced students. You will have some visiting scholars. All of them are doing their job. And people are, khalas, they are very, very easily and very conveniently people can seek ilm. Unfortunately, we have formalized the process of seeking ilm so much that it became very difficult for people to seek ilm. So we need to go back to the original method of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sahaba, is to seek ilm through the companionship. And that is very easy and very convenient way of seeking ilm. And that is very much, what they call nowadays, tailor-made. Because everybody can be taught according to their appetite and according to their specific need. ठीक. और कोई सवाल है तो इंशाल्लाह we'll conclude that. Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give us tawfiq to understand His deen, and may Allah Azza wa Jalla give us tawfiq to appreciate the wisdom of the Quran and the wisdom of Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.